Hello and welcome to the ISE ETF and Index Outlook for May 28th, 2012. This is Patrick Seresna. As always, we start off with a chart of the S&P 500 using that spider exchange for fund symbol SPY. After that substantial sell-off in the first couple of weeks of May, the last 3, 4, 5 trading sessions has really been a sideways consolidation, absorbing all the initial thrust lower. Really, at this stage, if this develops into a continuation pattern, we should see the S&P spider find substantial overhead resistance in that 133 to 136 range, and more than likely the 134 to 135 focal point being the key overhead resistance levels. And so long as the SPY is failing at those levels and lower, then it's the window remains open for the S&P to still have one more leg lower that could not only retest the 128, 129 zone down below, but could actually even test as low as 124 or lower on any initial selling. We still are open to the idea that this sell-off right here could have a break for even multiple weeks, and even the possibility that it kind of sideways consolidates towards a mid-range. But we are at this point comfortable in suggesting that the highs of the summer and fall are actually in with the 142 level. So even if the S&P does muster up enough strength to even make it back towards the highs of the year, it likely would fail from those levels again. So we again remain relatively biased towards a very neutral to bearish outlook for the upcoming weeks and months. Next here I want to take a look at the ISE Water Index, which is symbol HHO. The ETF for that trades is under the symbol FIW. We were suggesting that this head and shoulders formation was going to eventually break, and in the last couple of weeks finally got that break as we went for a direct test of the 84-86 focal point that we talked about several weeks ago. Really, at this juncture, we are now seeing a bounce very similar to that of the S&P. And while this pattern very clearly came across like a head and shoulders, in fact, the correlation of the water index to the S&P is actually quite strong at this point. Really, at this stage, if the S&P fails at its upper levels and starts to roll over again, it's more than likely that the water index will follow suit and actually still sell one more time. If we have that water index sell at the same time as the S&P, it's quite possible that we could be seeing levels in the 76 to 80 level, starting to look at where those lows came in that November and December bottoms. Next here I want to take a look at the ISE Global Platinum Index, which is symbol ORE, and we were suggesting several weeks ago that a break of that 84 level would open the window for a drop even as low as the 70-75 level, where we're basically there right now. At this stage, the Platinum Index is quite oversold and definitely overdue for a solid bounce, not the beginning of a new uptrend, but rather simply just an unwinding of an extremely oversold state. But if we, for whatever reason, see continued dramatic selling in the euro, let's say down toward the 120 level, and continued strength in the US dollar, it would certainly allow a lot of these material and metals plays to continue to weaken, and we might be get a very surprising move that even extends to the 65 or 60 level on the downside during these sell cycles. So while we in general here believe we are oversold and are overdue for a bounce, if the markets keep moving in trend, we still may have a little further to go on the downside. Finally, I want to take a look at that ISE Chindia Index, which is a symbol ICK. The ETF on that trades under the symbol FNI. We more or less were suggesting several weeks ago that any break of the 51 level on the downside would certainly open the window for further selling, and that appeared to be an understatement, as there was a very rapid drop of well over 10% and down towards a 44 level within just 2 weeks. Really, at this stage, this 42 to 44 is an initial support, and we are anticipating this level to at least spur on a short-term buying opportunity for a bounce. In the bigger picture, though, we remain a little cautious, as any bounce will probably be sold again, which would have us maybe in June, July retesting these lows once again, if not even breaking to lower lows. So while we are looking for short-term support, we certainly wouldn't want to interpret that bullishly at this juncture. That was your ISE ETF and Index Outlook. Thank you for joining me.